Hello Internet. So for my first content video, I recorded something about Bernie Sanders and US 2020 elections and why it's worth to vote, even if you are not really keen on electoral politics. I haven't uploaded it, and yeah, it's super not longer relevant now in the new era of COVID-19. So yeah, Bernie is out, and now it's not really worth to vote. Although I still stand by the idea that not voting is not a praxis, to use the leftist lingo. Yeah, it's just not worth to vote because now US elections 2020 no longer matter. So whatever. That's my opinion, at least, of course. And yeah, we are living now in a new era, as I hinted at earlier. Now with coronavirus and all that stuff. So yeah, what does it mean to all of us? First, like, they all talk about new normal, which kind of ticks my conspiracy I don't know, sense or whatever. It's suspicious for me that everyone was talking from the get-go, like there's going to be new normal and blah blah blah. Yeah, like, okay, I mean, first, like, a bit earlier there was like no big deal, it's not a pandemic, nothing important happening, and then all of a sudden, like, there is going to be new normal, blah blah blah. So that's like, yeah, like they say, I don't think it's like manufactured, but I think it's like not letting a good crisis go to waste, or this kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, I do agree that there will be no coming back to the old normal in some ways, definitely. But on the other hand, I'm not really keen on going along with the new normal that is kind of that we are eased into by the media and all the stuff. Like, no, not really. Like, we should have our own new normal, and we should shape it to be a better world, and not go with the fear and authorities and control and all that stuff. So yeah, so what about COVID-19 and maybe like a broad leftist perspective? Well, first thing that comes to my mind is, like, there would be no financial crisis, no economical crisis coming after the pandemic, and there would be no choice between lives lost to disease or lives lost to, like, poverty. And this is a choice that we are given by our current economical system. And as leftists, we can always point out that if we could slow down, if our economy could slow down, there would be no crisis. So in socialism, yeah, sure, there would be less stuff produced, like, less cars and all this stuff, because the production would stop, like all but essential stuff. But that wouldn't mean that people would lose their houses, lose their jobs, and all the stuff. This wouldn't happen. This is only due to our current economical system. And if we cannot slow down, that's not really a good perspective for the future, because we have to slow down to avoid even worse ecological catastrophe. So something to think about if you engage normies and talk about the crisis coming after the pandemic and all the stuff, I think that's a much better avenue than shaming this protesters that want to go back to work and all the stuff. Like, people are now desperate, and that's you have to kind of like, it's a privilege, like, middle or upper class radical perspective to, or not even just radical, because it's liberals and leftists. It's just like, I can stay at home, and all these people should stay in home because otherwise they are endangering rest of the society. Yeah, that's true, but you have to bear in mind that maybe they will starve, or they will lose houses and all this stuff. Like, there is desperation there, and yeah. So I think it's much better than like shaming people and moralizing over them, to say like this dilemma is pushed on us by the way that we organize production and all that stuff. Yeah, and like looking at the whole pandemic situation, I think all that like conspiracy stuff is not really panning out. Like, the fear is losing to boredom and desperation that I mentioned before. Like, there are, of course, a lot of people are dead, and this is super serious health crisis, like the most serious in my lifetime, definitely, and probably in much longer. Like, as far as like the intensity and all the stuff. However, it's not as huge as it would have to be to push in some kind of like scary conspiracy, new world order stuff on people. Like, even just like Bill Gates, talking about his basically pitching his business ventures that he kind of like covers as philanthropy. He's getting huge pushback, and like really, really gigantic pushback, and it's it's not going to happen. Like, just there's not enough fear to do anything of this kind of scary stuff. So yeah, I think it's not as bad as it could be, and it's of course terrible situation, and we shouldn't make light of it. Like, it's serious, very serious issue, and we are all kind of facing it, although we are not all in it together, as like the slogan say. Like, the corporate rats that are out of their cage, in office now, working at home, their situation can be even better. Like, yeah, sure, you're in quarantine, you cannot go out, but like it depends on places. Like, I think in most of the places you can go out at the moment. You just there are many businesses closed and all the stuff, but you can take walks and so on. So basically, working from home, that's a win situation for them. Of course, essential workers, they don't get shit. There's like, they are endangering themselves even in this most serious moments of pandemic and places. And yeah, everyone say, oh, you're a hero, but like, that's nothing. And then of course there are people whose jobs are disappearing at the moment. So those are like for working people, three very different scenarios. And then of course there are rich who don't work, who are least affected by all the situation. Like, they can quarantine on like private sail, like yacht or whatever. And so yeah, um, we'll see how the new normal is forming before our eyes. But at least at the moment, I think Europe is coming out of the worst situation, and New York is, I think, also coming out of the worst situation. Like, yes, I know there can be a second wave and all the stuff, but now that we are living with this disease a couple of months already, it's different. It's not the new threat. Like, we learn about it every day. I mean, the scientists do, but that we as a general public also get some of this information. So it's getting less scary, I guess. And I think that we are past the fear peak, I guess. And now we will be facing, of course, the economical crisis coming thanks to the capitalism.